Coming up on AC 24/7, a warning from health experts as many prepare for family gatherings and holiday parties. Flu numbers are rising. We'll tell you what you need to know. Plus, find out the latest step China has taken as they move away from their zero COVID-19 policy. And we'll take a look at the weekend box office, which movie is still drawing people into the theaters, and when that could change. Welcome to AC 24/7. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. The United States is seeing a surge in flu cases after Thanksgiving. The CDC reports that more than a third of all flu hospitalizations and deaths this season happened in just the past week. The Advocate Channel's Jacqueline Howard has the latest.
Flu activity remains high across the country right now. And here are the latest numbers. So far, due to the flu, at least 13 million people have been sick, 120,000 hospitalized, more than 7,000 deaths from flu have been reported, and 21 of those reported deaths have been in children. According to the CDC, all but 7 states are experiencing high or very high levels of respiratory virus activity right now. And in New York City, health officials have issued an advisory saying that everyone should wear masks when indoors in public, even if you've gotten your flu shot or had flu before. The advisory also lists other prevention measures like washing your hands frequently, staying home when sick, and of course, getting up to date on your vaccinations. Back to you.
Los Angeles is welcoming its first Black female mayor into office. Former longtime Congresswoman Karen Bass won the seat in November. Vice President Kamala Harris helped swear Bass into office. Bass spoke about her plans to solve the city's housing crisis and says her first act as mayor will be to declare a state of emergency on the unhoused community. There has been a 1.7% rise in homelessness since 2020, with more than 40,000 living on the streets. Now, the 4 largest cities in the U.S. all have Black mayors. NASA's Orion spacecraft has completed a successful mission, splashing down off the coast of Baja California Sunday after flying around the moon. The Artemis 1 mission comes to a successful end after more than 3 weeks and nearly 240,000 miles traveled. The Advocate Channel's Isabel Rosales has the latest.
Good descent rate, 500 feet. Splashdown.
NASA's Orion spacecraft making an ocean splashdown after a 25-and-a-half-day mission around the moon. The historic Artemis 1 test flight aimed to test out harsh environments of deep space and to demonstrate the capsule could make a safe return back into Earth's atmosphere.
It was confident, but it was tense because there were 2 big things that had to happen today.
Temperatures around the
First of all, the heat shield had to work, and it worked perfectly. And then the parachutes had to work.
And we're on main.
And they did perfectly.
During the test mission, no astronauts were on board. Only a few mannequins were used to gather data. The mission comes to a successful end after 4 delayed launch attempts.
We're going back to the moon, but this time not to just stay there and come back.
Next up, NASA plans to use the data collected on this mission to choose a crew for the Artemis 2, which could take off in 2024. And then NASA aims to send astronauts back to the moon in 2025, putting the first woman and first person of color on the lunar surface.
We are on our path to getting that base on the moon, to getting the understanding we need to go on to Mars, and doing the science that's front and center here in our program.
I'm Isabel Rosales reporting.
They've waited 34 years for this. The families of the Pan Am Flight 103 victims are reacting to the news the alleged bomb maker is in U.S. custody. The Advocate Channel's Amy Kiley reports.
We're very anxious and eager to hear what comes out of this trial.
Families of those who died in the 1988 Pan Am Flight 103 bombing are speaking out. They're reacting to news from the Justice Department that the alleged bomb maker is in U.S. custody. The department declined to say how that happened.
We have the fortitude, number one, the determination of the families to keep fighting after 34 years, but also the fortitude of our government.
All 259 people on the flight died, along with 11 others on the ground. Most of the victims were Americans.
It is alleged in the criminal complaint and the indictment that at that time, all co-conspirators worked together to arm the explosive device in the suitcase.
The U.S. initially charged the suspect 2 years ago when he was in Libyan custody. His initial hearing now in the U.S. District Court of Washington, D.C., according to the DOJ.
There's a sadness here for the families who lost lives.
Phil Mudd worked for the FBI under former Director Robert Mueller. He says Mueller made the case a priority for years.
The FBI prides itself in never letting a bone go.
And now we will have a trial in the U.S. to hold him accountable, and that is very important to the families.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
China is set to eliminate one of its COVID-19 trace tracking systems. The country will abolish its trace tracking service, the Mobile Itinerary Card, according to a statement from the Academy of Information and Communications Technology. The QR tracking system, designed to indicate the user's COVID-19 status, will continue to operate in many cities across the country. China has used the system since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, but has since unveiled 10 new guidelines that loosened some COVID restrictions, showing the country is moving away from its zero COVID-19 policy. After recent heightened volatility and failed crypto exchange, lawmakers are demanding answers and further federal regulation regarding digital money as some finance industry experts double down on the criticism of cryptocurrencies. The Advocate Channel's Jen Sullivan has a look at why 2022 was a difficult year for digital assets and what may be ahead.
The volatility, the scandals, and price plunges, triggering concerns from both lawmakers and banking industry experts about crypto.
Crypto is a complete sideshow, okay? Cryptocurrencies that don't do anything.
The CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, is repeating his criticism about digital coins. And with so many negative developments this year, has 2022 been the worst year for cryptocurrencies?
Crypto tokens are like pet rocks. And there's people hyping this stuff up.
Dimon has testified before Congress calling for more crypto regulation. Meanwhile, lawmakers say they're closely monitoring the crypto space and aiming to protect Americans.
We've done a series of hearings exposing the problems with crypto, the problems for consumers, the problems for our economy.
It comes after the meltdown of FTX, which was one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world until last month, when it failed after it couldn't cover a sudden wave of customer withdrawals. The demise sent the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies tumbling more than 60% this year. The founder of FTX has agreed to testify before Congress.
I mean, look, I've had a bad month.
But is the worst over? Experts say crypto is notorious for both plunges and epic comebacks. And for investors, here's what you can expect next year. Senators say they're working with federal agencies to further regulate crypto.
We need to make sure that crypto doesn't harm our economy here and doesn't contribute to illicit finance.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
The founder of the failed crypto exchange FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, has agreed to testify before the House Financial Services Committee to answer questions about the collapse of his company. Pop star Lizzo is set to be the final guest on this season of SNL. Lizzo announced on her Instagram she will be taking over for the band as their guitarist is recovering from pneumonia. This will be the singer's third appearance on SNL as a host or musical guest. The box office had a slow weekend, but that doesn't mean Black Panther fans didn't hit the theaters. $11.1 million gave Black Panther: Wakanda Forever its fifth straight weekend win and a domestic total of $409.8 million, closing in on Doctor Strange in the Multitude of Madness for the second highest total of the year. Thank you for joining us for AC 24/7. For content that advocates for you, go to advocatechannel.com, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. For the Advocate Channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist.